Hey, welcome to Wandering Walkers. I wanted to take a moment and just answer some frequently asked questions. Probably the number one question I get is why Canada? Why Canada is actually a great question, especially since there is a university just an hour north of me that teaches helicopter flight training. Probably number one, the biggest reason that is like the most obvious no-brainer is cost. And I'm talking about cost in money, also cost in time. The school in Cedar City, Utah, just an hour north of us at SUU, costs $200,000 to get your license. And it takes 3 years. Kind of a lot of money in a really long time. The school in Canada, schooling will cost me $65,000 US and will take me 6 months, and that'll get me my commercial license. Now we plan on going somewhere else to finish up schooling, which will probably cost around another $20,000. So altogether, I'm just gonna say around $100,000. So half as much in a third of the time. Number two, the school I'm going to. Every other school I've contacted, it's kind of a self-paced deal. You can go as quick as you want or as slow as you want, with a caveat, as long as there is a helicopter available to fly. So when you're not the only student doing your self-paced training, other people are wanting to use the helicopters and instructor's time. You may be able to go train, but there's no helicopter available to fly. And so you just have to wait. So you're wasting time, and there's no set schedule. So it may take you 6 months, it may take you 3 years. And I don't have that kind of time to wait. That's why another school in the US wasn't a great option as far as ones that I've talked to. Maybe there's a school that does it the way BC Helicopters does it, where you have a set schedule, set times that you're going to get your license done in, things like that. But I just didn't find one. So your first job out of school is most likely to be an instructor. That's probably what my job will be. You don't have enough hours to get a job either doing tours, although some companies will hire you with less hours to do tours, but you're definitely not gonna fly air med, fires, things like that. When you're looking at a school, most likely your instructor will be like me right out of school, 200 hours, to meet the FAA requirements, and you're getting trained by a new instructor. Well, the school in BC is actually run by Misha. Misha bought his first helicopter when he was 18 years old, and he has been flying and teaching pretty much since then. He's very experienced, and hopefully he'll be my instructor. There are a couple of other instructors there, but basically really skilled instructors, not what I'll be, which is right out of the gate and not very many hours or very much experience being the instructor. Another thing that BC Helicopters is doing that I really like is they are flying a newer helicopter called the Cabri G2. This helicopter was actually designed for being a training helicopter. It has a couple advantages. It was built with safety in mind. It has high crash rated seats and a bunch of other stuff. Most schools fly the Robinson, which was never made to be a training helicopter. It just happened to be an inexpensive two-seater, and that's why most schools fly that helicopter. One of the biggest misconceptions about helicopters is that they can't glide, which isn't true, they can. So if you lose your engine, you glide to the ground, and I'd rather be in a helicopter when it loses its engine than in a fixed wing plane. Because in a plane, you need a runway to land. In a helicopter, you need a spot to land. So you can actually land a helicopter without engine power a lot safer than, well, they have more landing options than you would in a fixed wing aircraft. The rotor system in the Robinson is subject to something called mast bumping. where basically the rotor can bump the mast of the helicopter, and when that happens, the rotor flies off. The rotor is what's holding your wings. Your blades that spin around are your wings, and they actually are wing shaped. They are wings. If you lose your rotor and you lose your wings, you can't glide anymore. You do become a rock. So that's why understanding that misconception is important to understand why I wanted to go somewhere flying the Cabri. So besides BC Helicopters flying the Cabri, their whole focus and mentality on safety is another reason we're going to Canada. I started following their YouTube channel, which is Pilot Yellow, which is Misha's channel. I've watched all of his videos, and his take on safety I completely agree with and love. That's what I want. I've got 5 kids. I want to come home every night to my kids and my wife and not be somewhere where safety is an issue. I've heard some horror stories about schools cutting corners and things like that. In fact, I have a really good friend who is actually a life flight pilot, and we were talking the other day at lunch, and most of the people he knows who have died in helicopters are due to maintenance issues. We kind of went through all the different ones. So there is safety risks with flying helicopters. We've accepted those risks for the reward that we're achieving. But I'm not gonna go out of my way to be dangerous. The whole point is knowing that there's risks and doing everything you can to mitigate them. The same thing I say about marriage. When my wife and I got married, we were 18 and we had everything statistically stacked against us. And what I tell young people, if you want to get married, do everything you can in your power to make sure you have a successful marriage. And that means look at the statistics. What makes it that makes marriages fail statistically? And how can you combat that? One of those is premarital counseling. If that's all it takes, go get some premarital counseling and give yourself that much more success. So the same thing when it comes to helicopters. I'm going to look at the statistics, find out what makes them the most dangerous, and do everything I can to prevent me experiencing that issue. I believe getting the best training is part of that, and that's why BC Helicopters in Canada. I think that pretty much sums it up. If I think of something else, I'll update it in another video. But thanks for watching Wandering Walkers. We love you guys. We appreciate your love and support. I know there's more questions, like what am I gonna do after this? And I'll be answering those in another video. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.